Hi, I'm Darin Burns, and again, I want to welcome you to my podcast. It's dedicated in the memory of my good friend Bruce Smith. And if you want to learn more about why I'm doing that, you can read the book 61 Never Forgotten. Today's show is going to be actually a really unique show. I've got four great guests on. I've got my usual co-host, as I call him, the Doc. He's going to have a lot of work to do today. I've got Chris Demirdjian from CBS affiliate out of Louisiana. I've got Damian James, who is a personal life coach who has helped thousands of people, and hopefully the people that listen today are going to learn a few things about him. And I also got my other friend, Dan Giancola from the CFL, a kicker who himself is an inspiring story, and he's our Canadian version of the Kurt Warner, and he happens to have a book out. So welcome aboard, guys. And Steve, I'm going to let you kind of like lead in on all this stuff. Today's topic is going to be mentorship and the importance it is to help other people and children especially.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Cooper. I am a licensed mental health counselor in Indianapolis, Indiana. I own the business Family Tree Counseling Associates in Indianapolis as well. And I've worked in some therapeutic capacity for about 30 years with people. I focus on a lot of different issues, not just men's health issues or mentorship, but in this context, I focus a lot on helping people grow out of childhood traumas and into a more resolved and healthy adult state. And I work with people on that on a daily basis.
Amen to that. What I want to do is cut over to Chris and introduce Chris. Chris is our special guest coming in all the way from down in Louisiana. Chris, welcome to the show, and tell some people about yourself.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. And I was going to tell you, Indianapolis is one of my favorite cities, actually. I had a chance to go there a couple of years ago, and the people there could be nicer. And as a matter of fact, the little Irish pub near the arena might be one of my
Right.
favorite bars I've ever been inside. It was like a family going in. I love Indianapolis. I really do.
Typically, the guy from Louisiana liking a bar, Okay, carry
Exactly.
on.
Imagine that, right? We don't know enough of these in Louisiana at all. No, but my name's Chris Demirdjian. I'm the sports director for KS Ladies 12 at Shreveport, Louisiana. It's if you think of where Dallas is, it's going 2.5 hours east on Interstate 20, east of Dallas. But I've been over here since April of 2023. Been doing it for 11 years. Started off in nearby West Monroe, Louisiana. If you go a little bit further east, on 20, east of over here is where I started off and worked for 8 years. Sports director, and what I really enjoy about it the most is making an impact in people's lives, especially at the high school level here locally. There's so many high school athletes who are all chasing dreams of going to college. Trying to get a college education. Parents trying to get the kids to get free education so they don't have to pay for it. It's definitely an honor to just make a lot of impact in people's lives. And some of the guys I've covered have gone on to do big things. The latest, Will Campbell. I covered him years ago at when he was at Neville High School in nearby Monroe, Louisiana, and he's at the top, playing for the New England Patriots. Was a draft pick for New England, but before that, played for LSU. But there's so many numerous stories, like Will, and his story on and off the football field. Um, there's so many great stories, and I really enjoy telling them all. I enjoy telling, Darin's story on Bruce Smith. People still talk about that. I still get asked about that over here. In fact, I told someone a story the other day at somewhere I was working at. I was just wide, and they're like, "What? 61 years old playing football? What?" And it's funny because the stories you get a chance to tell and the reaction you see, it's so beautiful to see that. Recently, I had a chance to go to the White House. LSU Shreveport baseball finished their season undefeated, 59-0 overall in baseball, which is crazy. And also, along with them, LSU baseball, who won their eighth national championship all time. They're both honored in Washington, D.C. at the White House. And so just being a part of that, the industry could take you a lot of good places. And also, you can impact a lot of good lives and meet a lot of good people along the way. That's why I love doing it.
And my kindred brother, who we just recently met, we have quite a bit in common, and that's Damian James. And I want to welcome you to the show and tell some people about yourself.
I'm Damian James. I have the social media handle, The Real Damian James. I'm based out of Huntington Beach, California. I'm a personal life coach. My specialty is helping men that are getting out of breakups and divorces. The last 18 months, I've worked with over 4,120 clients that I've successfully got them over that situation and into bigger and better situations all across their life. I consider myself a level up coach. Every guy I've ever worked with, I've taken every aspect of his life and pushed him to achieve more and do more. And on top of that, every guy I've worked with, I've helped them become more self-aware and look inward instead of outward and focus on what they need to do internally from a personal value standpoint, self-esteem, self-worth, and explain to them how important it is to have productive relationships when you focus on your self-worth and how much better of a man you can be and how much better women you can meet and better relationships you can have with women, with your boss, with your kids, with whoever you need in your life. Everything I focus on is mindset, but it's all based off of self-worth, self-confidence, investing in yourself, becoming the best man you can become. And that's my motive. That's what I focus on. Directly, I've said over 4,100 men. Indirectly, in the last 18 months, it's probably around 100 million. My social media is exploded all over the platforms, and I have over 6,000 DMs and messages a day across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, my email, my website, which is unweak.com. And I'm creating a movement. My focus is to help men become better, to help women then become better, and I want to get the nuclear family put back together and start building the world the way it should be, the way it was meant to be.
Amen. And you probably could retire just off of my love life over my years. Yeah, and then I want to bring on my Dan Giancola. Dan is a football player, kicker. But he started as a rookie at 29 years of age. He was literally working in a grocery store in the meat department, and he got the call to go play pro football at 29 years of age. So he's our Canadian Kurt Warner, so it's a pretty amazing story that he has, and he's got a book on his life. And Dan, talk a little bit more about you.
I'm going to have a hard time following up with Damian, to be honest with you. I didn't realize how much of a rookie I am until I heard Chris speak and him speak. And so I let you know right now, I got to say this first and foremost. I am absolutely honored to be on this show with you guys. I really, truly have to say that right now from the bottom of my heart. As for me, like Darin said, I had the opportunity to no college university experience. I went from high school to play minor league football. I chased my dream for 10 years. I went to 131 free agent camps over 6 years. Was told no 131 times. And by the grace of God, I had the opportunity to play with the Toronto Argonauts in my first year. At 29 years old rookie, when most people, retire. I guess you can say I was almost forced into retirement for a little while. My mother-in-law got diagnosed with colon cancer. My father-in-law got diagnosed with colon cancer. My dad got diagnosed with Parkinson's. My wife got diagnosed with colon cancer, and my mom had a major seizure. And unfortunately, life happens, and I had to step away from the game for a little while, the game that I love. When I wrote my book, Be That One, it was primarily when I first started, put pen to paper, it was all about beating the odds to play professional football. And then out of nowhere, 2020 during COVID, I had a massive heart attack. I had the widowmaker that I should have died from in my studio. I was given maybe, I think the doctor said 7% chance to live. Genetically, unfortunately for me. But I drove myself to the hospital, and the rest is a story there all in itself. I could go on and on about that. 2 years later, I had a massive stroke. I should have died right there in my fitness studio, sitting just like I'm sitting with you right now. I had a massive blood clot. What's that?
Just don't die.
No. Listen, honestly, I say this there, and I say this to everybody. If God wanted me, he would have already taken me twice. And that's the God honest truth. And, we all got our time. And unfortunately for me, it's the heart attack is one thing. The stroke is another thing. You get over that. But what you don't get over is between your ears. And I have suffered hardcore. So I believe, on this panel here, I mean, I share so much along with you guys and what I've been through. And through that, I've now started my motivational speaking, where I started traveling. I've created a foundation called Give the Boot To as a kicker. And then every year what we do is we pick a cause. And I've been able to raise over $150,000 for various causes over the last 7 years. And I'm very proud of that. And I just recently got back, and thank God I got here on time, a little young girl who is in my book, and she is an angel on my shoulder, and she is suffering from brain cancer. So this is a tough one for me today, that's for sure. I'm going to do my hardest not to cry right now. So, but again, thank you for having me.
Dan brings the emotional Italian edge to the whole thing. But anyhow, today's story is going to be about motivation and the importance of it and how it affected you, maybe as a child, to come out like what Bruce did for me, the impacts it has, the impacts that you can make in other people's lives, and then Damian, with you leading men that have been broken and bringing them back to strength. So let's talk, Chris. Let's talk about some stories with you. I'm sure as a sports broadcaster, you've got some good ones. Well, let's hear a couple of the impact that athletes have had in your community that you've covered as a sports broadcaster.
Honestly, I don't even know how to follow that up. I'm just my boss is still dropped to the ground. Everything, Dan just said. I mean, I'm sorry. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second. That's seriously, that's an amazing story, Dan. It really is
Yeah.
an honor to be on the
Thank you, Chris.
podcast with you. It's just an amazing story. So, like I said, my jaw's still
We're going to get him
dropped.
on your show.
Yeah, so forgive me if I can't think straight right now. I'm still thinking about that. But, honestly, just seeing what athletes can do for our community. It all starts from when you're a young man. When you're out there playing high school sports, when you're out there, maybe Pee-wee sports, you always strive to make an impact in the community. And I think that kids see that nowadays with social media. Kids know what the situation is, and there's so many. I'm trying to think of a great story I can think of, but just being a part of kids' lives, seeing them grow from being young men to they go into college, say at LSU for example. People follow them, people flock to them. They're the source of inspiration for communities because in a lot of towns in Louisiana, the population's 5,000 or beneath that, or sometimes 500. And so a lot of these smaller towns usually are in the news for the wrong reasons, only when they're just feeding, only when there's like a major drug arrest. And, a lot of these times you have kids who are, again, from a small town in, Louisiana, Texas, or Arkansas, or Mississippi. That's all these guys have. And they cling on to these guys, and these guys are sources of inspiration so that more people can be successful in their communities. Like, for example, there's a guy named Tre'Davious White who, specifically in Shreveport, he graduated from a high school over here called Green Oaks, and he plays for the Buffalo Bills as a defensive back. Played for LSU, and I had a chance to interview him years ago, and he still gives back to the community. I think he spent, I don't remember the exact numbers, but he donated about $1 million, I believe, to help the local high school where he attended in their basketball gym, renovating their basketball gym. How can I forget this? Dak Prescott. He just came back to his hometown of Taunton, Louisiana, recently. He donated about $1 million in total, one for new video board and one for new weight room for kids to go work out in. And so it's just the fact that at the professional level, these guys are still giving back to the community. And like I said, these guys are the source of inspiration for their community. So other kids can grow and be successful, maybe keep kids out of trouble. Maybe that's, whenever you see an athlete from your hometown on a national stage like that, maybe that's something that, kid that can inspire to be and get away from doing, drugs or, doing, things they shouldn't be doing, something like that. So it's really cool to be a part of people's lives and see them grow and to the levels where they are. It really is.
Well, I think that as athletes, it's a privilege to play a sport, whether it's high school, college, or pro football, or any sport for that matter. We all have value even after we leave the game, and it's up to us. We owe it to our communities to give back, because without the businesses, the fans, and things like that, we wouldn't be pro athletes. We wouldn't have been gone to college. We wouldn't have all these things that are given to us. So it's almost like it's our responsibility. It's almost that we have to do it and we should do it and we should be proud to do it, because you can impact and change so many lives and stuff like that. And, you know, I look at Damian, what he's gone through and his troubles and stuff like that, the demons he's faced, and he's actually turned that into such a way to help other people. You know, he's not an athlete in that sense. I don't know what his sports background is, but the guy's in shape. But the thing is that, you know, what he's doing. So, Damian, talk about what the things, the impacts that you've seen in people by just mentoring people.
So, but before I say anything, Dan, I want to say that your story is amazing, and the
Thank you,
fact
brother.
that you have continued to give, to put it out there and put that energy out there when any other person would probably just go home and sit in the house and feel sorry for themselves, brother. You're a hero. You
Thank
are
you,
a
brother.
hero. And if you're helping a little girl with brain cancer and you came in the studio today after dealing with that and being here, you're amazing, brother. I'm
Thank you,
proud to be on here with you, and I'm proud to be an Italian right now. I'm proud to share blood with you.
Thank
You're
you,
an
brother.
amazing man.
Thank you, man.
Okay, Darin and Dan, you guys are role models. What you've done for the world will never be replicated because you guys are true heroes. And we lack that leadership these days. We don't look to the courts. We don't look to the fields anymore. We look to the internet to find inspiration and motivation, and it's not there and it's not real. What Darin and Dan has done in real life, that's what true men and that's what boys need. The role models that you guys have created out in society. And it's important for you to understand the impact that you guys have, even right now, and even when you're on the field. And I see every day, I see the lack in the young men growing up. They just don't have that fire that I used to get watching Michael Jordan, that I used to get watching Wayne Gretzky and Bo Jackson, right? And Kurt Warner and Tom Brady. It's not the same anymore. And Chris can attest to this because he deals with it. He's in the trenches. But the leaders of this country are the icons, and you guys around the world are the icons. Our countries, the magnificent men, were built off of the inspiration that you gave those kids. And I think it's important for you guys to know that this trickles down to young men and how they're raised. And Steve, I'm going to back off because I want you to get on this because it's important for people to understand the mechanism of self-confidence, self-worth, building yourself up as a young man and becoming a real man that's productive in society and relationships. So Steve, I'm gonna head into you now.
Thank you, Damian. So my approach to people is it's a mix of different theoretical models in the realm of psychology and applied psychology to human development, relationships, other patterns. What I look at is intergenerational trauma as it passes from grandparents to parents to children to the next generation to the next. And I look at very specific patterns for how that plays out in a person's mind based on deep forces in us that we're born with, that you go through developmental stages throughout your childhood and you reach your adult life, and where people get hung up at different places along the way that don't get resolved underneath. And then on the surface, they build a personality around compensating for or suffering from those unresolved developmental traumas. And I work with people to find those things and define specifically how those work in their minds and help them to walk up a ladder of development to their full integrated adult self. So that's the process of mentorship is a key component. You have so many lost kids in the world, or so many kids, maybe they're not lost, but they're suffering. And they need people that will be there for them to guide them through whatever they're going through. And the issue, though, is that every kid is different. So what works for one kid won't work for another. And if you have to be able to read the kid and read the situation and know how that type of involvement in their lives would work or not work depending on the person. And so that's, I think you're all powerful. I've listened to you all, and Dan, I agree. Like, you're an amazing story, amazing person, and that you're still out here, writing a book, putting your story out, trying to inspire people after everything you've been through. Not just Dan, all of you. I think it's amazing. So I just wanted to say that to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And what do you think about the importance of motivation and mentorship to young kids?
I've had the opportunity now to do it on so many different levels. I've done it for adult men, especially men. After having a heart attack and my stroke, it's still extremely hard to talk about it because of my PTSD that comes back to me. And I remember when the heart attack happened to me, I was teaching my class in the morning during COVID for free. I was doing online for free and had over 5,000 people online. And I started feeling nauseous the last 10 minutes and I didn't know what was happening, only to find out, fast forwarding, I drove myself to the hospital finding out that I had a massive, what they call the widowmaker heart attack. And it got all over the news, was on the radio stations. I believe it was on TSN. They talked about it. And people were saying, my God, if it happened to you, because I pride myself on being in shape and taking care of myself. I've been a personal trainer for 21 years. And I think what I was saying last week to you guys is, I have my 3 whys. And, my first why was like, why did this happen to me? My second why is like, why did this happen to me? You get angry. You go through these stages. And the last why was, why not me? Why? I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not anymore because I played professional football. And that took me into not only with men going to get checked on, but also now when I travel to all the schools and I talk to the kids at school and I put on the big health, little boot camps and I travel around the schools in my spare time and I talk to them. And I just recently had one child come up to me not so long ago, and she came in here with her mom and to do a class. And it was really different for me this time because normally when kids come up to me, they say, "Oh, you're the guy that was with the Buffalo Bills. You're the guy you're the guy who had the ring, and oh, you're the guy that's on Facebook." And he came up to me and he said to me, "You're the guy that had that heart attack and almost died." And I was like, oh my God, this one hit hard. I never felt that before. And I looked at him and I said, man, how do you know? He said, my dad went to go get checked because of your heart attack. And he ended up getting quadruple heart, whatever they call it, quadruple bypass surgery, bypass. And he shook my hand and he gave me a little teddy bear. That was his gift to me. That killed me, man, because for so many reasons. First and foremost, like, I always wondered why. I always believed that everything in life happens for a reason. And for the longest time, I would sit there and I'd say to myself, well, come on, like I'm Catholic. And the first thing I says, why God? Like, what part of this makes sense? What part of like everything that happens in life for a reason? What benefit is this? And then I wrote my book. And I never wrote my book for anything other than if I can help one person, amazing.
Yep.
And it's turned out, I mean, my God, I'm sitting with, I told you, such an amazing panel right now of people. I've done amazing, wonderful things. I travel now and I talk and I do and I raise money for all these fundraising events. And this was exactly what was supposed to happen to me. And at the end of the day, having a heart attack and stroke was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yep.
So I'm sorry for being so long-winded, but to answer your question,
Yep.
It's like literally right across the board. There is no specific. It's not just kids. It's mentorship. It's not just the adults. It's It's just making awareness for everybody in realizing this one thing. And trust me when I say this to you, and I hate to put it like this, but I'm going to put it like this. I'm being real right now. You have appreciation for life when you almost die, not once, twice. And you should have died. And I know I should have died.
Yep.
Life is so precious. And I woke up just like I am right. Like it's a gift. It's something we've done our entire life. We get up in the morning just because that's just the way it is.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, by the end of the day, you're hooked up to all these wires and you're in the ICU and you're getting ready to go in for brain surgery and you got all these wires all hooked all over you. And, you know, like I said, man, this is not about the book for me. This is not about the book. But this picture right here, that was me, my daughter in the ambulance, man, in the ambulance. Yep. And I was paralyzed. I was completely paralyzed on my right side of my body. And 5 minutes before they were going to do brain surgery, my arm shot up. That's that picture right there. People take this stuff for granted, man. And that's my job now to put upon people and realize life is a gift and it can be taken away anytime.
Well, like it's a hell of a story. Mine is basically, going through the abuse and things I did as a child, but ended up in, when you can say ending up in a group home was the best thing that could ever happen to you. I went to a football camp run by the Toronto Argos in 1978, and I had a garbage bag over my shoulder after the camp, and I was coming back to go back to my group home, and this black Mercedes pulls up, and it was the captain of the Toronto Argos. He put down the window, and a big black guy, and he's in there and says, "Hey boy, what the hell are you doing hitchhiking?" I said, "I got to get back to my group home." He's kind of paused for a second, and I was going the opposite way. He was going downtown Toronto, and he said, "Get in." So I jumped in his vehicle, and he drove me to my group home. And we talked along the way. And this is the guy that's like the biggest star in the city at that time. He owned the city of Toronto. And he basically said, he came to my group home the next day. And he goes, "Have you ever lifted weights?" I said, "No." He says, "Well, we're going to lift weights." I said, "I have nothing." He took me, bought me clothes, and took me out, started me lifting weights. That became my mentor, my father figure. So for me, it's been about athletes trying to give back and make changes like that affected me so much in my life. So when you can take something so negative, being in a group home, and looking at it as the most positive thing in your life, to me, he's the greatest man in the world. He's became a minister later on. He did all these things in communities and stuff like that. So, he's installed to me that while I was doing this comeback here, and this comeback, let's see, I battled cancer. I had a heart attack. This last season to honor Bruce, because he wore number 61. I wore number 61. I turned 61 this year. So it was the most important year of my, call it career, because I was sending a statement out to everybody else. First game, tore my left bicep. My bicep now is up in my armpit. There's my finger, broken finger, torn patella tendon. I didn't miss a game. I played through it because I knew that's what Bruce wanted, and that's what the mentorship meant. I had kids that I would bring to football games and have them run out on the football field. I rent bowling alleys, and I think I'll get Andre to post a few pictures of the kids bowling. And I rented movie theaters where I've taken all the kids from the Boys and Girls Club the night before. Every Friday night before a game, I would take kids out to do something, to let them see. And I'd bring some of my teammates along, and I find that some of my teammates were abused or went through this, and they really liked it, and they brought their kids along. So it's all been about inspiring. But for me, I'm the second generation of mentorship. It started from a black guy that went through racism and everything down in Texas, to take this skinny white-haired kid at the age of 14 and changing my life, that I've affected hundreds if not thousands of people. And then after Bruce passed away in 2013, I had the honor of, and I was telling you guys before the show, I took all the kids from his King Bay kids, and these are all kids that parents were either mother, father, or both were murdered by gunfire in the core of Toronto. So there's about 25, 30 kids. I had a bus, and there's one crazy thing that happened is all the work that Bruce did in that community that had high crime rates, because of what Bruce went in and brought athletes into that community. After Bruce passed away, the fucking politicians cut the funding for the area because the crime rate dropped. Okay, so these kids are doing all this stuff, and you bring the crime rate down, and so the politicians cut the funding for all these programs. So now we're out there trying to find money, like Drake and other people have all supported funding this area that Bruce left behind, which I don't understand. If anything, they should be firing more money to set an example that how, mentorship can really change a fucking community. But I had this one kid that both his parents were murdered, black kid, and he had bowled a strike, and I had caught that picture as he jumped in the air and the back legs were kicked up, and he was smiling. All you can see is just white teeth right across his whole face. And the lady said she's never seen him like that. And I looked at her and I said, well, you've never seen him be a real kid, and this is what it's all about. So what Bruce installed in me was giving back. So having this platform that I've had, I went on and motivated people. I had people over 55 cheering me on, go get these young snots and knock the shit out of them on the football field. I had all these young kids saying it couldn't be done, and now I've won them over. They've all been following me and stuff like that. I've inspired kids. I've had, Lucas, who's now my assistant, helping me with the program. He messaged me as a kid that went through abuse and read my book, and it changed his life and his perspective on things. And then he reached out to me and made me a great collage of videos and stuff like that. So, these are the things that we as men have to do in our communities. Like Chris, sports broadcaster, you can get these messages out. Damian, you've got the messages out with all the guys. Dan, you're an inspiration. You're a walking billboard inspiration. And, and Steve there, he's the doc, and he understands and helps people. He's helping me out, for crying out loud. For the first time in 50 years, I've been dealing with my hard childhood of being raped over a couple hundred times, being beaten by my father, being in band and going to 27 different schools by the time I was grade 9. So Steve is doing a mentorship to me. He's helping me out and getting me somewhat organized and stuff like that. Because I've blown through women like, I don't know, like I don't know how the term to use, but, I've had a really hard life in trying to connect and deal with issues because of all the blocks and things that I've had to go through in my life. So mentorship to me is this is what it's all about. And this is what I'm here to do. And that's why I have all you guys on the show. Now, Steve, what do you think after hearing all us crazies?
Well, I'm crazy with you. So I've had my own personal issues, therapists are people too, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, I listen to everybody's story, and I think in terms of like where they came from, what they were raised in, what their parents' personalities were like, what their siblings' personalities were like, what culture they were raised in, what belief system they were raised in, and I listen for how a person operates in the current moment, how they frame reality, how their emotions operate, what emotional reactions they have to different things. And then I look at the internal model that somebody is experiencing the world through. And I think, as I'm listening to each person, I'm analyzing like, what is this person's internal model? And it's somewhat similar to what Damian does with people. He's listening to people's internal model. His is more from helping people to find their worth and helping people to get up off their backs or out of a feeling of trauma and getting into a more active, productive self-worth. And it's extremely valuable what Damian does. And my work is on things that took me a long time to learn, like years and years of education and work to learn about deep developmental things in people's beings and knowing how those things work in people's adult lives. And, I had my own childhood issues. I had my own dysfunctions in my adult life. And in my earlier adult life, they created a lot of problems for me. And so I married my first wife, and 16 years later, we got divorced. And the reasons for the divorce were a combination of her childhood issues and mine, and them bouncing off of each other. We didn't know what we were doing. We just had a cycle of dysfunction that both of us were creating. And I would have thought that she was the main driver of that cycle, and she would have thought that I was the main driver of that cycle. And we both thought that our emotional hurts and pains were coming because of the other person's behavior or lack of. And, you know, when she left after 16 years and I lost 60 pounds in 2.5 months. I was distressed. I was heartbroken. I was devastated. If you were to have asked me back then why I lost 60 pounds and why I was in such a state of distress, I would have told you honestly what I believed at the time. I believed that I felt that way because my wife left me. Right? But in retrospect, I was the kind of person that would lose 60 pounds in 2.5 months if somebody left. Right? Those kinds of people get left all the time. Right? So not only was my distress not caused by her leaving, if I didn't have that insecurity running through my system, I probably would have understood myself and her more, and it wouldn't have led to a divorce. I'm not blaming myself for her leaving. She had her own traumas, right? But it's the insight that I'm creating my reality. It's not happening to me. And I had to get down into the bottom of all of the components that were in my mind, all the belief systems, all the traumas, all the insecurities, all of the, you know, the role that I had, you know, was playing in life. And I had to get down into the bottom and re-engineer my mind from the ground up. And so that's what I lead people through now. I lead people through understanding complex things like ego structure and transference and projection and systems patterns in the human mind and systems patterns in relationships and families. And you know, these are all based on understanding the developmental trajectory of a human being from birth to adulthood and all the stages along the way. And it's, you know, it's been a very important journey for me. If you were to have met me 17 years ago, you would feel like you were talking to a different person with different emotions and different thoughts and different interpretations. And, you know, but if you were to meet me then and now, it'd be a very different experience. So go ahead.
Well, for me, I just want to get Chris. Let this be a hell of a show to put on your show.
Yeah, yeah.
But for you, for being doing your sports broadcasting and stuff like that, how is it important for you to get because obviously with your show and getting out positive stories, how important are these shows to get out for you to have positive stories going out on people like this that you see on the show today?
We've all seen the negative stigma with news, and you know, there's people talk about it. You know, it's always shootings and murders and homicides and robberies and rapes, and it's I've seen it. I've seen the complaints, and I was a news anchor for a couple of years on a few separate occasions, whether it be evening or mornings, and it was tough when you see things cast in a negative light. But unfortunately, that's what news is. But also, I knew I had the option of sharing positive stories as well. That's why I wanted to devote my time being a sports broadcaster, because I knew I could push out. If I want to push out a story like Dan's, which I'd love to be someday. I want to push out Darin's story. I want to push out other stories, because I do think that when people see that, people can relate that to their personal lives. Like even when I was editing and writing Darin's story, the only thing I can think of is how can I put what Darin said and and share his experiences and relate that to the common viewer. Maybe there's a guy at home who wants to play football. He's 50. Maybe there's a guy at home who went through unfortunate things that Darin you went through as a child, and didn't know how to channel that. That's what you look for, and that's what any story I do. Any story I try to relate to the common viewer, because I know there is someone at home that is hurting from something, and I think sports can be the way to. I'm not saying fix what they're going through, but I think it put a smile on their face for at least 5 minutes, and that's what I aim to do with every story I do, and that's just with anytime I'm on the air. I mean, some of the best compliments, even at my age, I'm 34, about to be 35 now. Years ago, like you just said a second ago, if you would have met me 10 years ago, who had different emotions, different feelings, saying different things, but now the older I get, you realize it's not about us. It's about how you can impact other people. And that's what I love to do. I mean, there's no bigger compliment I can get when people tell me, "Hey, Chris, you really brighten my day," or "I really look forward to seeing you every night." It's just little things like that, that those are the biggest compliments I get because I know I'm making an impact and making other people happy. And during times when there's divisiveness and a lot of people aren't happy right now because there's a lot going on.
Yeah. So, Damian, for you, it's people getting knocked down because that's the stuff you deal with. You deal with the guys that hit well, basically, let's face it, rock bottom, mentally, physically, emotionally, or whatever. They come to you. What do you do to kick some of these people in the ass to get them to fire up and get going? Like, what is the trigger that some of our listeners can listen to today and hopefully follow you after the show, to understand about, if you get knocked down, how the hell do you get, back up and fight through it and have the courage to carry on? How do you do that?
So the main premise is you have it in you. Okay, so every guy that got divorced, every guy that got broken up with, there was a version of that guy that met that woman that was on point. That was 100. Every single one of you guys, when you met a woman you got in a relationship with, if you remember that version of you that met her, you were money, right? You were 100 before you met her. Now, she might have destroyed you, but before she destroyed you, you met her and you got together because you were on point. Every guy has it in him. You don't need to read a book. You don't need to go on the internet. You don't need to talk to Tony Robbins. We all have this power inside of us that you have to pull it out of you, and you have it already. But you have to make a decision that you're going to let go. And that is tough to do. It's tough to let go of the past. It's tough to let go of the things that helped you, that hurt you. You don't want to forget those things because they left scars, right? And everybody remembers those scars. You remember how painful it was. But if you don't let go of the past, you're going to carry that into the future, and it destroys everything moving forward. So I tell my guys right away, like, before I can help you, you have to come to terms and be at peace with everything that's happened, and you have to let go of all that. And then the second thing is you have to realize that you have it in you to do it because you've already done it before. You already got up. You graduated from high school. You got the job. You went to college. You opened the company. Your company was successful. You became a sports star, whatever you did, right? They knew they did that. You just have to remind people. And the biggest thing is that the guys I deal with, they're in the gutter. It's hard to see the mountaintop when you're in the gutter. And every guy thinks because they're in the gutter, they're never going to see the mountaintop again. Mm-hmm. So the way you get people to change is you have them reference the pain, how bad that pain is, and then you give them small steps of success every day. All right, Elon Musk didn't wake up one day and became worth $500 billion, right? He did it incrementally. Jeff Bezos, incrementally. Michael Jordan, he became good by losing. The best salesmen, they became the best salesmen by hearing no. The guys who meet the most women, are successful women, they got turned down the most by women. All right, you have to lose first before you're going to win. So every guy has to realize that, and every person does. And again, this goes back to Chris, because Chris is on the front end of this, and he could get in high schools and teach these kids these things. If you teach these youngsters, man, that just because you get on the internet and you see these guys that are 21 years old, they say they make all this money and they really don't. It's not, I mean, Darin played football since he was 5 till he didn't get paid until he was 21. That's 16 years of working your ass off to make no money. He wasn't successful for 16 years playing football, and then he was. These kids these days, they want it in 16 minutes. Dan played for, 5 to 29? That's 24 years. He got nothing for 24 years and didn't quit. These kids, they want to quit in 24 seconds.
Yep.
They don't understand the dedication. It's work. The internet is fake. If you get on the internet as a man, it will ruin your self-esteem. Get off the internet. The internet was built for women because it increases their value. It destroys a man's value. Chris needs to get in these high schools. You guys need to get these youngsters right in their face and say, listen, the internet is fake. You got hands, do the work. You got a mind, get smarter, and you will be successful. Focus on you, and everything in your life will come because everybody is built to be amazing. Don't let your life define you. Let it align you.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, yeah. I had a time when I was on a Rod Peterson show, and Rod asked me, because he's been following me for 5 years. He said, "Man, what happened to you? What changed?" and stuff like that. I just looked at him on the show. It came right. It wasn't rehearsed. I said, "I got divorced." As soon as I got rid of all that dead weight, focus on the positive, everything came through. But guys, listen, we got to start winding it down. Andre's got some other shows to do, I guess, so we're going to get the boot soon, or our cable's going to be shut off. Chris, I want to thank you, brother, for being on the show, and I'd love to get on your show again anytime. You just let me know. Damian, you're going to be on with me a few more times. I think you're my kindred brother.
Thanks, Darin.
And to my Italian kicker, I love the guy. I can hardly wait to go down and have some pasta fazool and some lasagna and eggplant lasagna and stuff and come over to the house. Is Dan. I want to thank Dan for his inspiration and story. He's been like I said, he's our Canadian Kurt Warner, and I love the guy to death. Steve, you want to say a few words before I close her out?
Well, it's just fascinating listening to all of you talk about your stories and how you have managed the pain in your life through your adult lives, and your commitment to being something for other people, to taking what you have and going out and lifting up other people and getting them going again. I think it's beautiful. And I look forward to working with all of you and getting to know you better. And it's a joy.
Well, actually, let be a little shameless before we let everybody go. Chris, Damian, and Dan, we'll go one at a time. Chris, where they can reach you or follow you?
Yeah, they can find me on all social medias. It's Chris Demirdjian, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. I'm all over. Always post stuff all the time. So just find me on there, and you can find me every night on. You can search ksla.com or the KSLA News 12 app. You can watch our newscast and see what we're doing every night in sports over here.
And Damian, a lot of people don't even have to look you up. You're popping up on feeds everywhere. But again, for people that want to reach out to you, where can they find you, man?
I'm on The Real Damian James on all the platforms, and you can also reach me at Damian@unweak.com. Unweak is my brand, Unweak Mentality. That's where I'm at. Thank you, Darin. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Thanks, Dan, Steve. I appreciate you guys all being here. It's been an honor to be with you guys today.
And Dan, where can they reach you?
Oh, man, you know what? So I'm new on everything. So I've been on Facebook for a while, Instagram. I'm on TikTok, not on Twitter yet, but I'm pretty sure you guys put everything up, right? I think. So I just want to leave with this, because I have to say this again. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have never been amongst so many amazing guys in one panel, and I've done a lot of stuff in my lifetime. And Damian, you're the best, brother. I love you. Chris, it is so nice to meet you, brother, and thank you so much for sharing all your stories. Darin, I love you, brother. You can trash me as a kicker any day you want. I'm used to it. And Steve, I love you, brother. And I'm looking forward to doing some stuff in the future. And Andre, you're the best, brother. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you, man.
Thank you.
I'm Darin Burns, and you can reach me at DarinJ61 on my Instagram. You can get my book, 61 Never Forgotten. The podcast you can get on Zeno FM. You can look up 61 Never Forgotten podcasts, and my producer is iambeaststudios, where you can follow on all podcast networks and catch some of Andre's other podcasts that he produces and directs on the networks. Again, I want to thank everybody for being on my show. It's about getting our word out, inspiring people. And like I always say, don't let society tell you who you are. You tell society who the fuck you are.